And we are live from the cheese room. Hello everyone, you're watching The Caller in the Caller's Cave, and with me tonight I've got a very serious looking Harlow Globetrotter, HG. Come on man, life's not that bad. Your background tells me life's pretty good. How you feeling?
Yeah, life is, I'm doing well. Life is very good. Yesterday still existed, so I didn't wake up, it wasn't a dream, it actually happened. So yeah, I'm doing well, and it's transfer deadline day, so it's always an exciting time.
And what's happened so far? Has anything of note happened Spurs-wise today? I think Sessegnon was shipped out this morning, was he not?
That's right. Sessegnon's gone on loan to Hoffenheim, German Bundesliga side, also in the Europa League this season. So they're a decent team. They actually beat Bayern Munich 4-1 last weekend.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're a good side. I don't know if it's going to be a good deal for Sessegnon. I don't know how much he'll play. I'm pretty certain Hoffenheim play with wing backs. So if he's going to play, he's only got the one position to go for. It's going to be an interesting one. But yeah, I don't know. There's part of me that thinks it's a good deal for him because it is a quality side, and part of me thinks that he should probably be playing in England, and that might be a better idea for him. I don't really know if Hoffenheim was the best option. We'll see.
I think the beauty of having your own YouTube channel is you don't get told off for having lots of ice in your drink. So the caller literally is giving zero shits about having lots of ice in his drink. He's very happy. HG, I think there's nothing really to report from a Tottenham perspective. So I suppose we'll just look at our transfer windows so far and talk through each of the players and the sort of impact we think they're going to have on the club. I believe we've got Steve Diver joining us later for a bit of a chat. I'd be interested to know how the finances look after all these transfers, Steve, if you're watching. And if you're watching at home, give us some love and some comments and questions. Stick them in the box, the usual place. You know what to do. So I suppose and we will go from there. So, HG, as there's little to report on deadline day, how do you say his name? The centre-back from Inter Milan, Skriniar?
Yeah, Milan Skriniar.
I've been practising for about a week now, and I'm still none the wiser. And it's a good thing that he's not signing for us, isn't it? Because I can't say his name. So it doesn't look like he's joining, does it?
No, he's not going to come today. He may well want to come in January, and we may well be in for him again then. But no, today it's not going to happen. I think Inter Milan are quite happy to keep him around. They wanted a price, and we weren't willing to pay it, and we'll go from there. Like it's a shame because I think Mourinho did want him, but this is Levy. This is what he does. He sets a price. Inter Milan are well within their rights to do what they've done.
Yeah.
And it hasn't worked out this time. There are rumours that we'll go after a young Swansea centre back called Joe Rodon. I don't know how to say it, but he's Welsh and young and highly rated, and it could happen.
Just like me, Welsh, young, highly rated. Well, half Welsh. The worst half of me, some would say.
Yeah, and I've got a Welsh name, but I don't claim to be Welsh. No.
No, I'm not. I only claim it when Wales are tanking us in the rugby, to be perfectly honest, egg chasing.
Almost every February then.
Yeah, pretty much, HG, pretty much. So, do you think this has been a good window for Spurs? How would you rank our window out of 10? How many out of 10, and why? And what do you think we need? What have we been left short with? What can we expect when we get to January? Don't forget the head of recruitment for Tottenham, Steve Hitchin, hates January.
Don't remind me.
Bloody hate January.
Little Hitchin. I just can't. Yeah, who hates their job? I mean, this is it. He gets paid to watch football. He gets paid to spend lots of money watching football. We went on a 3-day trip to Italy to have a chat with a bloke that's come to nothing. He's
literally got nothing else to do, and he can only buy players for about 3 months, 2 months, 3 months of the year, and yet he hates half of it.
Yeah, it's almost like he's the person who likes looking at houses but has no intention of buying one. I mean, that's basically him. Yeah. So yeah, it's but the window itself, I mean, we can't argue. I look at it and we all knew we needed a defensive midfielder. We got one very early on in Højbjerg.
Yeah, we did.
Signing Bale probably would have been enough to make it a 7 out of 10. Just that loan deal itself, because of how good he is and because of what he means to us as Spurs fans. But yeah, when you take in everyone else, getting Doherty for less than half his value probably, because he was a mainstay of that Wolves side that did really well for 2 seasons in the Premier League. Now comes to us for next to nothing as far as modern football's concerned. I mean, who have I forgotten? There's been so many now, but I think that Højbjerg and Bale will always be the main two. Obviously, Joe Hart's come in and made life easier for us on the homegrown perspective, if nothing else.
The man with a very long neck.
And who else have I forgotten?
Well, let's break them down and talk through one by one and talk about where they're going to feature. So let's take Joe Hart for starters. So on paper it was a little bit of a random signing, wasn't it? A man who's pretty much been cast out by first Man City and then Burnley. So why have we signed a sort of washed up has-been HG? Is Gazzaniga not good looking and agile enough for us?
Based on Mourinho, you have to think there's a certain mentality involved. I don't know how well he knows Joe Hart. I mean, that's the funny thing. Like, perhaps when he was at Man United, Joe Hart would have been at Man City for a bit of. He was. So you do wonder. I'm sure that managers and players they learn about personalities within the game. But yeah, it was a strange one. I don't think any of us saw it coming. I think we all thought, okay, even as a third choice, it makes sense for the homegrown because in effect he replaced Michel Vorm. I don't think we thought he'd be back up. He's played 2 games and done pretty well. I mean, it's a nice free transfer, very little risk signing for a guy who's played at the highest level. Played in the Champions League, I think semi-finals for Man City, Euros for England. I mean, we're not signing an up-and-coming one, but for a backup goalkeeper, maybe you don't want to. You want someone that you think can come in and play 2 or 3 games if someone's out, with a because Hugo's had another child.
Yeah.
One of those things. Like you want someone who's reliable, and I think Joe Hart could easily be reliable for the odd game. Absolutely.
Yeah. And in fairness, he's conceded 3 goals in the games he's played, and they've all been worldies, haven't they? There's literally nothing he could have done about any of them.
No, I mean that goal from was it Cherry?
Nina Cherry.
That's goal of the month.
Yeah.
I mean, if BBC allows it to be part of their competition, that should win for October. I can't imagine a better strike than that. It was an absolute arrow. But yeah, it's two worldies and a penalty. You can't really complain about Joe Hart, and on a free transfer, it's actually been a really good signing. It's not just decent. It's been there's value in it, and that's the thing. They have been Levy signings, right? All of them have been pretty good value.
Well, I think so, and I suppose that brings us from free to paying something for someone. Doherty or Doherty, however you want to say it. You say potato, I say potato. How do you say 6-1 in Austrian?
6-1.
I say 6-1. So yeah, Doherty. What are your thoughts on him?
We needed a right back. We knew that Walker Peters, wasn't really rated enough by Pochettino or Mourinho, so he was definitely going. We've needed one since Trippier left, and you could say he's one of the top 3 right backs in the Premier League last season.
Yeah,
I don't think there are many right backs that stood out, but Doherty, although he played mostly as a wing back for Wolves, he was a vital player for what they've done. And you look at Wolves' season last season. I mean, they finished top 8. They got to the Europa League quarterfinals. They started the season, I think, in July because they had the stupid qualifiers that we've just had to do.
Yeah,
that's a really good season, and he was first choice. I mean, they had to replace him with the £35 million guy from Barcelona. So he's a decent player. It was his one chance of a big move. I'm sure he's still an Arsenal fan. But
well, he's deleted his Twitter history, so it's all good. We're all good.
Usually deleting Twitter history is a sign of wrongdoing, and I suppose supporting Arsenal would count. So we can't argue. I mean, he's played every game in the league until yesterday. Aurier's playing better. Doherty's playing well. I think he's been combining quite well with Lucas in games. So I'm pretty happy. I mean, again, for the money that we paid, we can't argue. We really can't. Even if he only stays 2 seasons and leaves when he's 30, it's money well spent.
Yeah. No, I'd agree, and I was sat watching the Wolves game with my dad at the weekend, and he obviously, the Wolves game was on first, and then the Spurs game was on, and Becky, my partner, was just going ballistic. To be honest, she was wondering when the football was going to end I think was her phrase. And then, of course, Aston Villa came on and tonked Liverpool, so I had to watch that too. So she was a bit upset with me. But my dad was saying the space Aurier had in our game, he said Doherty would be absolutely loving that. Absolutely loving getting forward into those positions that Aurier got into. And Aurier looks like he's upped his game as well. It looked like a different player against Manchester United. And I think between the two of them, we're going to have some good competition at right back. I'm really glad they haven't sold him, actually. I expected us to ship him out. And if you'd asked me at the start of the window, the caller would have absolutely said, good riddance, get rid of Serge. We've got Tanganga and Foyth who can play right back maybe. But I'm over the moon that we've moved to keep him. Because that game against Man United just goes to show what he can do. He can do massive damage to sides in the final third.
I think if you combine Doherty and Aurier, you've got the perfect right back. One's got the pace. Yeah. Doherty is much more likely to, I think, to make the correct choice in the forward area. But yeah, we talked about the fact that Sanchez has pace, but with Reguilon and Aurier, they have pace too, and so it really does come in useful against teams like Man United that have Rashford and Martial, who are obviously no slouches.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it helps everyone to know that they're going to be picked probably on merit, probably on training. Given the fact that the games are going to come thick and fast for the whole year, if we're good, if we're lucky.
Yeah, absolutely.
We don't really get a midweek off. We've got Europa League games for the next 6 midweeks outside of the international breaks, and a lot of our players will play in those games anyway for the international. So we're not going to get a break. We're going to have to. We're going to have to rotate, and Mourinho has proven in the past that that's what he can do. I think the Man United game yesterday almost was the first chance he had to really rotate a team based on whatever strengths his opponent had, and the red card helped us, but 6-1 is 6-1.
We were going to beat them anyway. I had a feeling, once we got those first 2 goals, we looked so superior, so comfortable. And, Manchester United, they had Rashford hit the post.
You're nervous. You must be nervous. Spurs look superior quite often in games and somehow throw it away.
Oh, yeah, you're always nervous. But I genuinely, something just felt different. It just felt different yesterday. We just felt dominant. In midfield as well, dominant in midfield. We haven't dominated teams in midfield for a very long time, and I think that we haven't even seen the partnership of Ndombele and Lo Celso yet.
Right. I think everyone was slightly surprised to see Sissoko start over Winks yesterday because Højbjerg and Winks have done quite well as a tandem. But when you look at the size of Matic and the size of Pogba, the size of Sissoko makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Sissoko, obviously was a 7 out of 10 yesterday. Did nothing wrong, did nothing great.
Yeah.
But
did the workman stuff.
Exactly, and given the strengths that Man United had, you do need players like that.
Yeah.
I think we all would love to sit there and say we've got a team of 6'2", super quick, super good on the ball. But those players, if they do exist, are so rare that you have to make the best of what you've got.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree. And Sergio Reguilon, is that how you say it? Reguilon? I swear I'm going to say it, so whatever.
Spurs fans have started calling him Reggie, which I think may well
Reggie.
stick.
Yeah, okay.
The whole Reguilon, it's too French, too Spanish. No,
Reguilon, I think it is properly.
We do a John Terry and call him Dave. Who knows?
Yeah, but Dave or John. Reguilon. So Reguilon, what are you thinking about him then, HG? So the first game, for my 2 penneth in the Europa League, I thought he was bloody fantastic. After giving, the League Cup, I should say, after giving that penalty away very early, or the free kick away early doors. What was it, a free kick or a penalty?
No, he just got caught out. He was
that's right. He got skinned and he dived in, and the guy just made him look like stupid and crossed the ball, scored the goal. But after that, he was fantastic. What we've been looking for at left back, and to me, Man United, he just had a solid game all round. He didn't do anything particularly special, but he just looked solid up and down the flank. And even Ben Davies, when he came on, I thought looked good.
I think there's a difference between. You want someone who's comfortable no matter where they are on the flank, and that's it with Reguilon. He could be 30 yards from goal, his own goal, and he's comfortable, and 30 yards from the opponent's goal, he looks just as comfortable. He doesn't look like he's got vertigo because he's too far up the pitch. So in that respect, he's a great signing. Yes, it was the most expensive one that we made. But there is obviously the chance that Real Madrid will buy him back. But I think that Reguilón has to be okay with that. Like they can't just buy him back without him saying yes.
Yeah.
So
and if he's happy at Spurs, he might stay.
I mean, this is it. Like I read somewhere today that Real Madrid they could easily decide to just buy him back so they could then sell him on later. I mean, it's the type of deal that Real Betis did with Lo Celso. I mean, I think they bought him at the agreed price from PSG for 8 million, and then sold him to us 2 months later for 3 times, 4 times that price.
Yeah.
There's a chance that they could, but if he doesn't want to go, if he's playing for a team that are in the Champions League, he's playing regularly first choice.
Yeah. And Real Madrid are still managed by Zidane.
Right. I mean, like, where might he want to go? We're talking like he's Spanish, so you'd think if he's a Madrid player, Barcelona may not be an option.
Yeah.
But Barcelona would be one of the biggest teams for any Spaniard to play for. Would he want to go there? Would Real Madrid want to sell someone to Barcelona? There are lots of things to contemplate, but right now, as far as we're concerned, we've got him for this season, and he's an upgrade, and that's all you can really ask for.
Absolutely. I've got all the other players to go through, but we're going to just go to the comments and reactions board to see what we said. Dave Bolton saying Rodden from Swansea potentially. Okay, thanks for his correct name. FP saying the window's 8 out of 10. That's good. Dave saying the caller being Welsh explains a lot. I'm actually half Welsh, not fully Welsh. Let's just get that absolutely cleared up right now. Phil Ambrose says, what does HG think of Arsenal about to get Thomas Partey? Is that his name? Thomas Partey. What a great name. I bet he's the life and soul of it. Always thought he looks a very good player. Will strengthen them. Obviously, we should be thinking about us, not them, but interested in what HG thinks. Well, Phil, I will ask the great one as he is here. HG, what are your thoughts?
I think it's a fantastic deal for Atletico Madrid.
Really?
If I'm honest. They've spent the whole summer saying if you want to buy him, you've got to pay the release clause. The release clause by Spanish standards wasn't the highest. I mean, some of them are...
What is it, 45 million?
45 million pounds. I think it's 50 million euros. He's never really been first choice for Atletico. I mean, yeah, he's played often, but like to me, he's not the midfielder that I would want to be signing. I'd be wanting to go for Saúl Ñíguez. He to me is their best player. But I mean, I think he's an Arsenal fan, Thomas, and so it's...
Poor guy.
A good signing for them in that respect. Yeah, I mean, there's a few of them around because these kids, grew up when Arsenal were good.
Yeah.
So, 15 years ago?
Yeah.
So I just, I think I'm not worried. Let's say I'm not worried about the type of player he is. Like they've got Xhaka, who is good on the odd occasion. Ceballos can be good. Where does he fit in the system? That's the thing. They tend to play a 3-4-3 now, Arsenal, and Thomas would be one of the two in the middle, but he's probably better than Lucas Torreira. But is he going to play every game? Is he going to play often? I don't know. And for the money that they've spent, I mean, if you think that we got Højbjerg and Bale and Doherty and Joe Hart for what they, I mean, financially, the deal is much better for Atletico because I don't know. Like I don't think they wanted him to go. But you'd think if they really wanted him to stay, they'd have signed him a new contract and made that release clause higher. I'm not. I don't know. Like he may do well for Arsenal, and I mean, Phil is right. We shouldn't really care about them, but it's not like this. Do you remember how we felt when we sold Bale and then they went and signed Özil, and we all felt awful because we thought we'd somehow contributed to this, right? Our team had got worse and their team had got better.
Yeah.
And what happened? 4 of the next 5 years we finished above them.
Yeah.
So. It is kind of horses for courses, but if I look at that Arsenal squad and think what are they missing, I don't think Thomas Partey.
Well, Mr. Icebreaker says even more important than who Spurs are or who are not going to sign this evening, what gin is the caller drinking? Well, Mr. Icebreaker, FL. Does that mean Florida? Answer below if it does, because I love that state. I'm drinking a lovely... What's it even called?
It's so good you can't remember it.
It's new. That's why I can't remember it, you cheeky sod. I'm going to go and find out in a minute because I need a refill. But what I can tell you is it's pink grapefruit Busby's tonic water, which is absolutely lovely, I've got to say. As Steve Diver kept pointing out the other night, it's a working man's game. And there's me with my artisan tonic water. But, if you don't like if you like gin and tonic, comment below. Maybe we'll give some away one week when the budget allows. Or maybe I'll just invite you to the man cave and you can come and drink the Caller Stash. I'm quite up for that because there's quite a lot of it. So there you go.
I was going to say, you're trying to get rid of it now.
Well, there's about 30 bottles of gin there, so I'm sure I'm not...
honestly, Caller, like the saying, come and drink in my cave with me, I don't know how much of an invitation that really is, but...
I think Steve Diver enjoyed himself in here.
Yeah.
And he was
Steve
only
Diver
drinking
could look after
coffee.
himself, yeah.
He was only drinking coffee. I know, shocking. It does mean Florida, excellent, beautiful state, love it very much. Hello from to the US of A craft gin club special. We don't advertise on the Caller's Cave, but it might be. Zara Lewis, if we don't get a new sense back in, is it still a good window? It's still a good window, isn't it? Wouldn't it be? I think you mean, isn't it? We have plenty of cover there. Will not be overall quality. I don't want to see us panic buy one. I mean, go on, JHG. You tell me what you think, and I'll tell you what I think.
To go with what Zara said, we all knew that Vertonghen was leaving. We all know why, because he wanted a bit more security of a longer-term deal. You have to think that part of him is thinking, I wish I'd stayed and taken 1 year of this and been that fourth choice centre-back, the left footer. Because I think we still needed to replace him. Like it may not be the urgent thing that some of the other positions was. I mean, we've got Dyer wants to be a centre back. He's playing Tanganga. Is obviously one for the future and did really well when he came in last season.
I like Tanga. I like Tanga. I think he has got loads of promise. He's fast. He's powerful. Yeah. He didn't make too many stupid mistakes. I really like the guy. Really like him.
This is it. Like as a fourth choice centre back, maybe Tanganga is the type of person you want. I just think that we're missing the balance. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Like Toby and Sanchez like being on the right hand side. Dyer seems to prefer playing on the left. He doesn't seem fazed by it.
He's just not particularly good at it, right?
No, I wouldn't say he's not particularly good. But all of us sat here and thought in a back three, Dyer was all right. When it was he, Toby, and Jan. And we were really good in a back three. He worked, and if we wanted to go to a back four, then Dyer could move into midfield, and it still worked. As a left-sided centre back, the jury is still out because he just hasn't done it very much for Spurs. And when you think about the worst performance that we had since the restart at the end of last season, Dyer and Sanchez were the two. It was the Sheffield United game, and those two just looked awful against a Sheffield United strike force that, calling it a force is being generous. So. You're nervous because you know that again, like Dyer and if you combined the powers of Dyer and Sanchez, you'd have the perfect centre back. But when Toby and Jan played with each other, they both got better, and I think that's what you're almost missing, that idea of a partnership where the two people know each other so well, they play with each other, they complement each other, and right now you don't get that feeling. Unless Toby is one of the two. Yeah.
Why isn't he one of the two, HG? What is the issue with Toby? Because to me, he's the best centre back at the club. He should be in the team. I don't understand what's going on there, really.
You have to ask Jose. We're winning games, and that is all that matters.
It is. It is.
I think even though I agree with you, you look at Manchester United yesterday. Their most talented player is probably Pogba. But do I think he makes their best team? No. And so that's what you have to go on. It's like, who works well together, who works best together. Toby, to me, still should be one of those two. But if Jose thinks otherwise, we go along with that. I guess if we start losing games, then we can really complain. But until then, we've got four centre backs. They're all talented. None. It's just I think we have this impression that three of them are squad players, and only one is a real first choice, top quality centre back. And until we get that second, that's going to be the feeling. It's a strange one.
Zara, thanks very much for your question and your comments as always. My personal opinion is it's still a great window. We've done great business, and I think you're right. We've got plenty of cover there. Not, if not, maybe the desired quality. We haven't got a Virgil van Dijk equivalent, sure. Although a few years ago, I would have said Toby was better than Van Dijk. So we've got some depth there, and I don't think it's going to be a big issue. I think long term, it's definitely a position to improve. I know you're not that fussed that we didn't get Skittler or whatever his face is, because you didn't like him anyway. But it would be good to get another centre back in. I think a top quality, proven centre back. I think we were all pretty much in agreement with that. Some other comments. I do like this one. The last person to invite random people to drink in his cave was Michael Jackson. Well, that's not very nice, Dave Bolton, at all. You're not random. No, you are. You're very random, actually. You're uninvited. FP says, considering a lot of fans said we needed to spend 200 million plus to get the team back to where we were 3 to 4 seasons ago, isn't it more impressive that our fans seem largely happy with an outlay of 48 million? I read actually it was 86 million this morning when you include loan fees and all the rest of it. And maybe you're talking net spend, I don't know. But either way, I think we can describe it as fairly cheap for what we've got, HG.
I think it's just being smart. I mean, that's just it. We've played the game well.
Let me ask you a quick question. Sorry if I interject. Do you think? Because I'm going to run off and get a gin while you answer this, so it's a good one.
Right.
It's a good one. Do you think that? Do you think that Levy has boxed incredibly clever and taken full advantage of the COVID crisis?
Full advantage. Yeah, go and get your drink. Full advantage. No. If I'm honest, I don't think so. But I think a lot of clubs were waiting until the end before they really showed how desperate they were, if they were desperate. And we've always said about Levy that we want him to try and get players in early, and he did. I mean, he got Højbjerg in early, he got Doherty in early. Both of those players were leveraged as much as possible. Højbjerg, with obviously only 1 year left on his deal, was actually a fair price. We didn't get him on the cheap. We got his market value, which was that. I know Everton were willing to pay more, but Højbjerg wanted to come to Spurs. Doherty was a steal for the money. But I think we've been very smart. We've invested a lot of money in Reggie to play left back, but he's 23, and so they do 4 or 5 years at the club.
Well, when do you think Man City paid 50 million for a 28-year-old Kyle Walker? It's not bad business, is it?
No, I mean it is a case of all you need to do is strengthen. I mean, that's the funny thing. Like, if you look at some of the signings that Chelsea have made, they've spent a lot of money, but everyone thinks they've spent well because they have the idea that these are good players that will improve them. Yeah. Right? Obviously, they've let Willian go, they've let Pedro go, these older players, and they've replaced them with Ziyech and Werner and Havertz and players that have proven themselves at top clubs on the European stage.
Yeah,
it makes sense if you can do that, but I just think Spurs have been very, very smart with their purchases. I don't, we can always look back at last season and think, Ndombele was always a quality buy. It just took a long time to see it. Lo Celso hit the ground running, I think, pretty early on, but Sessegnon at 25 million has been a bust. An absolute bust.
Well, he hasn't played enough, though, has he, either, really? I mean, he's not had any chance to build up any head of steam or form. And I know you've got to take the chances you're given at this level, but he hasn't really had a fair crack of the whip for me.
No, I'm not blaming Sessegnon for the price tag. I'm not blaming, but the thing is, the club agreed to pay it at a time. Did we really think that 25 million was an investment in a squad player? Or was it someone that we thought could start games regularly? If it's as a squad player, then I think we've proven this year that you don't need to do that.
Well, I think we paid 25 million for him for a future prospect. If I'm honest, the same as we did with Jack Clarke.
But Jack Clarke was only 10. I mean, that's the thing. Like 10 million for a prospect, fair enough. Loan him out for a couple of years, see what you've got. You almost certainly get your money back, right? But 25 million for a Premier League player. England under-21 international who'd been, obviously playing regularly for 3 seasons at Fulham. Started playing at 16.
It's not a lot of money, though, is it? It's not a lot of money.
Well, yeah, but it's. I mean, granted, define a lot, right? I mean, Spurs don't really spend more than 30 million very often on players, right? We really don't. You've got Sanchez and you've got Ndombele and who else? I mean, more than 30. There's not many. So we've always done business in the 15 to 30 million. I think was a lot of money for us usually. I mean, Sissoko was 30. That was like top end. But the only way we paid that was because Levy just got away with paying 6 million a year for the length of his contract. So it was a lot of money, but it also wasn't because you only have to worry about 6 million right now.
Yeah.
So like I don't know. I just think that for 25 million at Spurs with the money that we have, you shouldn't be buying potential. He should have a position that he's going to play in your team, and I don't think he ever really fit. I mean,
if you read what? Sorry, go on.
Sorry, but I mean, when he signed for us, Pochettino had this mad fascination with a 4-3-1-2. Where like two of the central midfielders would cover the fullbacks who were furthest up the pitch. I mean, Sessegnon may well have been okay in that role, but it would have only been okay. I don't think that would have been the best thing for him. So you're buying a good player that maybe doesn't fit your system for a lot of money, and that was, or at least until now, I think we should say it's been a mistake. And now he's having to go somewhere else to get some kind of minutes.
Yeah. What I was going to say was, if you listen to Ali Gold, he's pretty adamant that the future of Sessegnon at Spurs he's going to be an international world class left back.
I mean, I don't usually disagree with him, but I don't see it. I mean, if you're looking at a left back who doesn't do much defending and is so good going forward, that's possible, right? But he doesn't seem to have the confidence needed to carry out that role. Like Danny Rose is 5'8", but is
5'8" of pure attitude, I might add.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he was a bulldog. Like when he got going, you didn't want to mess with him, and Sessegnon, just doesn't.
Oh, he's a
pussycat.
Doesn't
seem. And again, there's nothing wrong with it. But if you look at those quality left backs that were really good going forward, I mean, any fullback really, a lot of them are, small and powerful. I can't think of many, certainly in the last 10 years, that were amazing going forward,
Okay. Well, changing lanes slightly. Jason Lar says, did you hear the John Stones loan rumour this morning? And what did you make of it? Well, I'll give you my take on that, Jason. I don't really rate John Stones, if I'm honest. I think he's a talented footballer, but he's very mistake prone. And if, 2 or 3... How many seasons he's been at City? At least 3 years at City. If 3 years at top level playing with top international players haven't knocked mistakes out of his system, I think he's going to be like that for life, really. So I'm glad we haven't got him. HG, your view?
It's really interesting that someone can look really quite good at Everton, playing with worse players, and standing out as being like the main defender in that team. Jagielka was very much an old school defender, whereas Stones was the classy ball-playing one. And at Man City, where they don't have to do much defending, but he's ended up looking worse. Yeah. I think he's a better defender than Otamendi has ever been. Yeah. I don't see a reason for us to go after him. I think that there are teams at a good level in England that could easily use John Stones. He's not a bad player.
No, he's not.
But
he's not what we need.
No, exactly. He's not what we need, and I don't think he's a Jose player. Like
no, he's
not that
mentality
defender that Mourinho seems to love.
Yeah. Which I think is exactly why it's not happening, and was probably just a rumour, Jason, or maybe I might be proven completely wrong with an 11th hour Daniel Levy swoop. We never know till the end of the window with Tottenham. Phil Ambrose says Sanchez and Toby was a good partnership at the end of last season. I still wish Jose would try it again for a few league games in a row. Yeah. I mean, Sanchez has got pace, but I think he demonstrated incredibly well after 36 seconds against Man United what the other side to Sanchez, which is his decision making is just appalling sometimes, isn't it? I mean, probably being alongside Toby would help anyone. That's what I would say. And I think Dyer and Toby would work well, and Sanchez and Toby would work well. I think it doesn't matter which way you interact them. I think for me, Toby is the best defender by an absolute mile, and unfortunately, I don't think Jose sees it quite the same. But HG, your view?
it's going to be, I think, a situation where, depending on who we're playing and the situation, which two will start. Like, we won't have to rotate in the way that we've done the last week.
Yeah.
Like Joe say, even if we are playing, midweek and weekends for the foreseeable future, Jose can look at who we're playing. I mean, but the next game is West Ham.
Yep.
At home, I suspect with Antonio playing, that Sanchez will start that game.
Yeah, because of the pace.
Only
Yeah.
for that reason.
Yeah.
But if Burnley away, I don't think he would be needed as much.
No.
I think Toby and Dyer would be just as good in the air, which is what you probably would expect from a Burnley attack. So I'm not too worried. I just think that it's surprising to me that Toby, because even playing out of position on the left of the two, I think Toby offers more than maybe Dyer does. But Toby and Dyer as a pair might be actually the best. It's just a shame that one of them doesn't have pace.
Yeah, they're both quite slow. Gents, would you take Ericsson or Ericsson back? Multiple spellings, as no one seems to be able to spell it correctly whilst he's playing for us. Would we take him back, HG? I mean, what's your view on this? I've got mine, but I'd like to know your mind.
Yes. Simply, if he wanted to come back, I think I'd be okay with it. I'm not desperate for it to happen. I don't think he wants to come back. I think Inter just want to get rid of him and think that Spurs might be a good place for it to happen. But I don't know. Like, to me, if you sign him, obviously he's a foreigner, so someone else will have to move out, right? I mean, I don't think that you can afford to have him.
Do you not think it's incredible that he's fallen out of favour in Inter Milan in 6 months since they signed him?
Yeah, quite. You get the impression that Conte never really wanted him, and that's the crazy thing. I mean, like, there's a lot of Ericsson bashing going on in the Spurs world, and some people think it's really funny that he's fallen out of favour at Inter Milan.
Yeah.
I don't feel that way about him. He made it clear that he's got his career to think about. Playing at Spurs was not part of his plan for 10 years.
Yeah.
I think we did really well to get him for the 6 years that we did. He should have gone earlier, but again, with 6 months left on his contract, the fact he even went somewhere and that we got the 20 million euros that we did,
He's
which
right.
he didn't have to do.
Yeah.
He could have happily stayed, done another 3 months of not really playing, and then gone somewhere else in the summer. The fact that he didn't want to screw the club over, he didn't want us to go without getting any money, and was willing to go to an Inter side that, as he said himself, were in a better position to win trophies, and at the time they were. I don't think we can argue that. At the time they really were. So look, I don't necessarily want him back at Spurs, but I don't begrudge him anything, because he was a great player for us for a considerable number of years.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think he was a fantastic servant for Spurs. Look, in the reality, would I take him back? In a heartbeat, because he can do things that I think no player in the squad can currently. He's a different type of player to a Lo Celso or an Ndombele. He can unlock a defence, but in a different way. And he's certainly not a lazy player. He's one of the hardest working players in a Spurs shirt for the last 6 years, as you say. I would welcome him back, and I'm sure people would. Do I think he'll come back? Absolutely not, because as you've said, I think it's not in his particular career plan to come back. I think
Inter may well have been a mistake for him.
Yeah,
I think it could easily turn that way, but there are going to be other teams.
But he gets to live in Italy for a year,
right.
And it's quite a nice place, isn't it, Milan? So.
Yeah, no, I think that he'll find another club. Like, he may not go to maybe the level of club that he would like to, let's say, finish his career at, because he's 28 now. He's probably got one big deal left.
Yeah.
But he'll go and live somewhere really nice and get paid a fortune to do it. Still play football at a high level, and we've got so many good memories of Ericsson that I don't think we should spend our days laughing at him for not getting what he wanted, because we got an awful lot.
we wanted out of Ericsson. He was a great servant to the club, and he's been a great player. And there's no one who should feel bitter about Ericsson going just because he wanted to go to a different team. Doesn't make him any less of a person in my view. He gave us everything while he played for us. Everything. He's brilliant. So. Paulo Souza says, you call this a deadline day show? Where is Harry Redknapp chatting out of his car window? Apparently he's just said on Sky that he's backing us for the title. Good old
No.
and Paolo Sousa
No.
says, good old Harry, terrific squad. Yeah. I can actually hear him say
It
that.
is a terrific squad.
It is.
It's the best squad.
I've got Sky Sports News in the background just to make sure we don't miss anything. There's nothing particularly exciting happening right now, is what
Sounds
I would
like
say.
Sky Sports News on any day.
But Harry Redknapp, they had the Redknapps on. They had earlier when we were talking, they had Jamie and Harry in the background. It's like the Redknapp mafia these days, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, this is it. This is the best squad we've had since Redknapp was in charge. Like, I genuinely think that the squad that we started the 2011-2012 season with was as good as the one we have now.
well,
Probably better.
all right, so compare this to Poch's team then, at its peak, that nearly won the league, if you can call it that, or went unbeaten the whole season, and I fell back in love with being a Spurs fan. Do you not think that it's not as good a team as then, or do you think it's a better squad?
Look, this is a team.
Yeah.
That Poch team had everything.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I think if we put all of the players together that we have now and tried to create the best team, I don't know if it would reach that team. I really don't. It had everything. It had goal threat. It had height. It had pace. It had balance. I mean, it really had everything. The best team that we could probably produce now, it wouldn't be too far off. The thing with Pochettino is that we didn't have a strong enough squad, but even if we did have, I don't think he'd have used it. And that's the thing. Like, you look back at that 2011-2012 season, that's the season when we finished fourth and Chelsea fluked to the Champions League and knocked us out of the Champions League for the following season. That was, I think, Ferguson's last year as United manager. United won the league that season with a squad far worse than the one that we have now, right? But Ferguson got them to that title by basically focusing on each individual game and winning them. They did enough to win games. They weren't the juggernaut that we've seen in recent seasons with Man City and Liverpool. They were just the best, most consistent team. And I think that's where we're headed. You know, that's what we can do. I don't think any of us would put Sissoko in our best 11. I don't think any of us would put Lamela in our best 11. I mean, let's be honest. But they played a massive part of yesterday's win, and I mean, thrashing of Manchester United, one of the teams that finished in the top four last year.
Third.
We have third. Incredible, really, that they finished third after because they're not very good.
No.
I mean, that's just it. But it's a sign of strength that we can do that. We weren't really weakened at all. They came in and got the job done.
Yeah, and when you consider Bale wasn't in that team, Lo Celso wasn't in a team that battered United. There's so much to come, and I think it's just a very exciting time. I think that this squad is as good as anything we've had in the last 10 years. I think it's as good as the Pochettino squad. Whether it goes on and is the team that, as you say, was the Pochettino team, I don't know whether we'll do that, but it will be very interesting seeing this season unfurl. And of course, without crowds there, that brings a different dimension to it as well. That's more about the mental strength as well, isn't it? And you don't get that home boost. Some of the teams.
It is interesting to think that in our two home games we've scored 1 goal, and in our 2 away games we've scored 11.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that's to do with the home crowd. I doubt it, if I'm honest. Yeah. But it's going to be weird. This is, to that awful phrase, this is going to be normal. Yeah. Right? Like, clubs are going to have to get used to it, whether they pump their own sound in or whatever they do to try and make it more realistic if they want to. Yeah. That's the situation we're in. But what we're doing is we're seeing, how do I put this? Because the crowd is not involved, it is very much the strength of the team against the strength of the team.
And mental strength. Mental strength as well is a massive part of that, isn't it?
You'd have to think so, because if you feed off crowd, which I mean, a lot of players feed off both positive and negative emotions, right? I mean, like there are lots of players that enjoy going to a hostile environment and then performing. Those it's not hostile, right? It's just a place to play football. So. That some players won't be as good as they maybe could be if they were really fighting against something. But so it's going to come from within. You're right. This mentality to say no. Like today, it's us against them. Kane talked about it yesterday we felt as if we were on it. There was a feeling among the squad as we were warming up that today was going to be a good day. We weren't going through the motions, we were focused. And so even after conceding a first-minute penalty, it didn't put them off course. And within 6 minutes, we were winning. It's a fantastic thing to have, but we need to make sure that we have it for every game.
Absolutely,
not just the big ones. Because,
but I think we will look at Southampton away. That was mentality as well, wasn't it? A tough game, broke them down, and eventually
we were awful in that first half.
Awful.
So, yeah, it's baby steps, but the results are showing that we have strikers capable enough of winning any game, right? And that is amazing.
And let's talk about the striker we've just signed, whose name I can't say. It won't surprise you to know. I think that could be a new caller catchphrase. I can't say his name. Vinicius.
Oh my, really? You've made him sound like Lithuanian.
Vincent. Can we call him Vinny? I like Vinny.
You may well have to, like Charlie Vine. I don't know what you're going to do.
Go on, tell me his name. Come on then, expert on bloody language. Come on, give me his name.
Well, I would call him Vinicius.
Vinicius. Of course you would. Vinicius. Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't put an accent on it. Vinny. How are you doing, Vinny? Tell me about Vinny. A good signing, yeah?
Again, I don't think anyone knows how good he's going to be, but he was top scorer in Portugal last season. That is a decent sign, if nothing else. He's a big guy, 6'3", puts himself about. He's not going to be, I don't think, a fantastic player in the channels.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to be able to do what Kane has done in recent games and drop deep. But
he's battering ram.
Yeah, you're looking at a younger version of Llorente. I mean, that's what he is. He's tall. He's good in the air.
Is he mobile?
He's going to be able to keep the ball for his teammates, play his teammates into better positions. He is just something different. We don't have anyone else like that. We could have signed any striker, but we signed someone who's bigger than Kane. So it does mean that on the odd occasion we may need to
plan B.
Plan B, exactly. So,
lump it, and off you go.
But I think he's better than that. You don't score the amount of goals he scored in Portugal unless you have the ability to be in the right place at the right time. It's not just long balls into the box and hope that he gets on the end of it. But it's a nice, for a €3 million loan fee, and that's it. We've done very well. You wouldn't be able to get the top scorer in France or the top scorer even in Austria. You wouldn't be able to get the top scorer here for that type of money. I mean, Patson Daka was 30-40 million euros.
Yeah.
So you are looking. We've done very well. I mean, again, it's our lovely Portuguese super agent. It's one of his things.
Mr. Mendes,
out, and let's go through there.
Yeah, I wonder what kind of clauses are in Mourinho's contract that Mendes has to be cut in on everything or something. I'd love to read of that.
It is logical. I mean, it's contacts. I don't think anyone thinks that Mourinho is worth twice the salary that Pochettino got as a manager. Maybe you do, I don't know. But the contacts that he has means that he may well be worth it. Because you're buying Mourinho, who's represented by, as far as I'm concerned, the most influential agent in the world.
Absolutely, he is.
World football.
He is. He is. I would pull you up and say I think he is worth twice Pochettino's salary on the basis that he's won 28 trophies and Poch has won 0.
Yeah, but again, it's I don't know,
but you're right. I know what you're saying. His contact book. You're buying his contact book as well, and you're buying his connections. And absolutely right, you are.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's safe to say that Mourinho is a better manager, but twice the salary. If you're going to equate salary with quality, which I don't think we ever should, but if you are going to, then I think Mourinho is better than Pochettino, absolutely. But I wouldn't have put them, considering the situations that they're in right now.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have put him as almost double. But yeah, when you let's say you're paying 12 million for Mourinho and 3 million for Mendes,
yeah,
it's well worth doing, right? Because they've changed our squad completely in one transfer window.
Yeah,
all we did in January was what, Jetson and Bergwijn.
That's because he hates January. I hate January.
Right.
Oh, I hate January.
The reason why we didn't buy anyone in January is because of Steve Kitchen. He just doesn't like January.
I don't like January.
Why would you want to go to Italy to make a deal in January? It's cold. I mean,
Christmas is out. You got that Christmas hangover, haven't you? A few quid on credit card, and I just hate it. I just hate January. Hate it.
Oh, like people like that do my head in. Like I'm
just gonna get some chips and gravy and chill out. You know?
He may well be the best scout. I don't think he is, but even if he was, like, I don't think I could trust his answer on anything.
Well,
you've got to be able to sell yourself a little bit.
Let's have your answer on this. On the man of the match, great result. Have you guys noticed Spurs pressing high at times and forming a mid-block other times? Oh, a mid-block. Have you noticed any patterns? Are we only pressing the teams with bad defenders? Well, Man United certainly have got bad defenders. I think it's fair to say we have. HG, your analysis on that?
We're definitely not as manic as we were under Pochettino when it came to the press. But when teams play out from the back, like they tend to do now, with goal kicks going 5 yards to the right, it invites the press, right? Like Manchester United, I don't think they'd done it.
What were they doing? What were they doing for that third goal?
I don't think they'd even tried to do that before they tried it then.
Yeah.
Like at the worst possible moment, they just had a player sent off. The pass that Bailey played to Matic, even if it had been perfect, Matic couldn't have done anything with it, right? Because he would have been surrounded straight away. It wasn't perfect, so the ball never even made it to him. It's so simple to avoid those mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I do think that we're setting traps. I do think that we're trying to exploit our opponent's weakness. Right? I do think that's very much
being intelligent C. Yeah.
That's just intelligence. I mean, that's not even being a C. That's just understanding the game of football and knowing that. So the thing is, like, we all watched it with Wimmer, right? Kevin Wimmer, when we were playing well, looked a world beater.
Yeah, he looked good.
But when he was put under pressure, he fell apart. Right, and that's basically the situation. There are some defenders. There aren't many football players that can handle that type of pressure, let alone defenders.
Yeah.
But when you're asking defensive midfield players to get the ball in a tight spot, 25, 30 yards from their own goal,
do a little turn.
It doesn't make any sense.
No.
Like, I know that there are some that can do it, and if you do it well, then you can easily have a 5-on-3 break. But to me, the risk-reward is totally in favour of the team that is pressing. It's not in favour of the team that is trying to break that press.
Totally
I would
agree.
Much rather, as 1980s as this may sound, I would much rather lump it and then hope to win the second ball. That, to me, is a more logical reason for trying to break a press than just, basically playing the ball into the teeth of the monster. There's no sense in that.
Yeah, I agree. I can't really disagree with the HG, sadly, on this occasion. I think absolutely, and I think what it's demonstrating is the difference between Pochettino and Mourinho is, I think Mourinho is a lot deeper thinker, and he does a couple of things which, in my opinion, every football manager should do anyway, which is A, pick the side to play the side that you're playing. B, adjust your tactics and your formation to address the weaknesses of the side you're playing, which I would have thought are fundamentals. But the number of managers in the Premier League, and Pochettino was guilty of this, of just sticking to the same formation and the same philosophy. It's like playing Football Manager on fast. You just continuously click continue. That worked against Burnley. It will work against Man City, and it's just you reach a point where it doesn't. And as obscene as it sounds, for someone getting paid £4 million a year, as Poch was or whatever it was, I would expect better, really. But there you go.
This is it. Like Mourinho's quoted in that Netflix documentary of saying that he doesn't coach football players; he coaches football teams. Pochettino clearly invests in players and wants to make them better. I mean, we always talk about the fullbacks.
Oh, he's a brilliant coach. Yeah. Look what he did with Danny Rose and Kyle Walker and Eriksen come to that, and Harry Kane. And he did a great job. I'm not dissing Poch, to be clear. He's a great coach, but he's not. For me, there's a good reason he didn't win anything with us. He couldn't adapt when it comes to the big games where the pressure's on, where it required a different approach, or the team to be a bit nasty or play a low block, he didn't do it because he's not got it up here.
There were plenty of games. I mean, I always remember one up at Liverpool where I think it was Sadio Mane just tore Ben Davies to shreds. But we all knew it beforehand that it was probably going to happen. That to me is the weird thing. Like, if Danny Rose is out and Ben Davies is your backup, you can't play the same way. You can't really. You can't expect Davies to do the things that Rose did because it's just not his quality.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a weird one. But you're right. Like, right where we are now, no matter what the lock is, I think we have enough to break it down. Right, we have enough to score the goals we need. And yeah, obviously there'll be games where we don't do it. But I mean, the idea of like Kane dropping back and having Bale and Son run over the top. I mean, it's going to be a nightmare to defend against. You defend deep.
What's Lee? I mean, if in that clip I sent you about you know where Jose says, and have you seen Harry Winks in training and on the pitch? Oof, oof. And Daniel Levy goes, pretty much sucking him off.
Levy is such a fanboy. I mean,
he really is. Can you imagine what Levy's face was like during that Man United game?
Whatever Mourinho says, Levy now believes to be gospel.
That's brilliant. We're going to sign Ronaldo next transfer window, I'm telling you. Because he's so sucking in. I love Jose. I was on the record of saying bring him in, he'll do a great job. I've never my belief has never wavered. But I mean, Christ, he is. You know it. Levy will do whatever Jose tells him to do. He may as well run the club.
Yeah. Which, you know what, I'm all right with.
I'm all right with it. He's going to win stuff.
If anyone's gonna like influence Daniel Levy, it's not going to be Steve Hitchen. So it has to be Mourinho.
Fucking hate
right? It has to be
I
Mourinho.
hate January. I hate January. Dele Alli, Zara. Hello again. Good or bad for you too? Staying. That is the fact that he's staying.
Great. 100% behind him.
I'm asking the wrong person, really. HG is a Dele fanboy, and I understand why, because Dele's been a great player for us, and I think he can do things that no other Spurs player can. So I completely get your perspective, HG, unless I'm misrepresenting it.
No, I don't think you are. Like if you want a centre forward, like let's say the focal point to drop deep and play balls over the top. Like Kane has been doing for Son and could easily do for Bale, I can see Dele being able to do that. If you want to have a second striker to play alongside Kane, I can see Dele being able to do that. He's not going to start every game. I mean, he's not a regular starter anymore, but that's because the squad has got better more than Dele has got worse. That's how I see it. So I think that, I love the fact that Dele's staying. We may have got a lot of money for him, but
not in this climate, we wouldn't, and I think that's the reason he's still there.
I just don't think it's worth it. We don't need to sell anyone. If our net spend is the 50 million that was quoted earlier, I'm okay with that. I think that's doable even in this climate because of the amount of money that still comes in through TV. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, we're not getting the matchday revenue and the revenue from other sources, but we were still making lots of profit. Mm. So I don't think. Even though we spent a lot of money last summer and we've spent again in January, I don't think a net spend of 50 million is that much of a struggle for us. Mm. Especially when you look at the other teams in the league that are spending that left, right, and centre, and not because they have a sugar daddy. Like they are doing it because they can, because they feel confident.
I'd agree. I think for me, Dele is a unique player. There's no one really like him in the Premier League. He can unlock a door or a defence like no one else. He can do. He's got the flicks, he's got the tricks, he's got the skill. He can win matches pretty much on his own.
He's a ghost, is what he is. If you put him in the box,
there is a but.
Yeah, go on.
My biggest issue with Dele is how he fits into new Spurs. To me, he only fits into the Plan B, and that's probably the biggest problem. It might be the biggest problem for him, because I don't think he can play every week in this new world of Spurs. because I don't see where he fits in the team, because he can't play centre mid in a way an Ndombele or a Lo Celso or a Højbjerg. He's never going to do any of those roles.
But this is the question: like, which person in our squad is going to play every week? Because you look at Kane and you think, okay, if he's fit, he'd probably do it. You look at Højbjerg and think, okay, he may be the only DM in the squad. But actually, if you think about it, is a front three of Dele, Son, and Bale that much worse? Are those three good enough to win your games at home against Brighton?
Yeah,
I think so.
Probably.
Right? And that's the question. Like, we could play a 3-4-3, and we could have the flying wing backs in Doherty and Reguilon, like, who are smart going forward. You could have Dele dropping deep as one of the three, and then Bale and Kane, and it would work.
Well, I mean, it looks like we're going to find out soon. So I think Bale's going to be fit for the West Ham game, or at least fit for some time on the pitch. So probably make the bench. So I can't wait to see how he fits in. I really can't.
You hear what you're saying? Like, we've signed one of the best players Spurs has ever had, re-signed, right? Who scored in the Champions League final just over 2 seasons ago.
Yeah.
One of the best goals you've ever seen in the Champions League final. And we're arguing, or we're thinking about, would he come in to start a game against West Ham? Like, that is strength in depth.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Whether you have Lamela or Lo Celso.
Oh, absolutely.
Or
yeah. Or Bergwijn. Bergwijn didn't even make the bench for the weekend, HG. And he was brilliant in Europa.
I think we're going to have 2 quality attackers that don't make the bench every week. If they're all fit, you can't have them all on the bench. You can't play 3 and put 4 on the bench. That would be Aussie.
What did why not? What did he say? Joseph said, he said, my favourite problem is the impossible problem. Yeah. Keep everyone happy, and I think that's going to be his issue this season, really. And we'll see on the back of it. I mean, a lot depends on the success of the team. If we win a cup, if we do well in the league, I'm not going to say win the league. I can't dream that much. But if we do well in the league, are these players who are being rotated going to mind that much?
Like, let's say, let's say we don't win every competition, but we get 50 games over the season, right? Through various things, 55 games through Europe. I mean, yeah, let's say 55. I think is probably a safe number. If you do that, then if you can get people playing 20 games, like if Sissoko plays 15 to 20 games, he's going to be happy with that because he's at the end of his career. With Dele, you might be looking for 30, but I think that's fine. Right? It's a question of, if anyone's playing less than 10, they're going to win out at the end of it.
Yeah. So
there is going to be some kind of understanding of of a full player's desire to play. But I think that if we're smart, like, I mean, of those 55 games, do I want Kane playing 50? No, I'd be all right with him playing 40, 45.
Yep.
Like, we have to start trusting these squad players more, which we never did under Pochettino because he obviously felt they weren't good enough. Whereas now we do have those numbers. So, whether Doherty plays or Aurier plays, right now, I think we feel like it's much of a muchness. Either or, we're going to be fine. If it's Toby or Sanchez, okay. Either or, we should be okay. That's the strength we are. Winks or Sissoko, Ndombele or Lo Celso. Maybe it will be both, maybe it will only be one. But that's the beauty of where we are.
No, I agree with you. I think, and isn't it great to have that strength in depth? I think it's fantastic. Ilana Popvix says, lots of people chatting that Juan Foyth will be back next season. Could be a starter. Am I the only one who thinks we'll never see him in a Spurs shirt again? Well, I mean, I think in truth, Ilana, that I think he will. We've signed him to a long-term deal, haven't we? I think this week as well, HG, which a cynic would say just increases his transfer value. However, I would argue that it's more than possible that he has got a future. He's a talented, for me at least, he is a talented player, very talented player, great ball-playing defender. Could probably play holding midfield if he adapted his game, or right back as well. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see him. He's represented Argentina at senior level as well. That's not exactly a player who's not up to the job. So, HG?
Can I agree with both you and Elena a little bit?
You can.
Like, I agree with you when it comes to talent, that he's got it and that he'll be a quality player in whatever league he chooses to play for. I do think I agree with Eleanor that he may not play for Spurs again. I can't imagine that Villarreal would agree to loan him unless there was an option to buy. I can't believe that we would. It just seems a weird thing for them to do. They're a quality side. They're not desperate for players. It's a try before you buy, but I think they're expecting to buy, and I think that he's expecting that they will buy. They're maybe waiting for non-COVID times to be able to afford it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like, the extension of the contract was nothing more than Tottenham kind of making sure that if it doesn't go well in Villarreal, that we have a player who's got 2 years left on his deal instead of one.
How long's he signed for, HG? Do you know?
Well, no, he was under contract until 22, and he's added a year.
Okay.
I mean, that's all he's done. He's added a year to it. So it makes me think that it's a contract thing. That if he does come back next summer, he's still got 2 years left on his deal, and so it protects his value to Spurs. But I think as far as Foyt is concerned, he's gone to Villarreal and he's going to play for Villarreal, and Spurs are his past. They may well still be his parent club, but I don't think he sees himself playing for Spurs long term. Even though I agree with you, I think he probably could, but he needs games more than anything. It really is a win-win situation for everyone. Villarreal have a good player, Foyt is getting the minutes he needs, and Spurs, are getting not just their money back, but a little bit more for a player who's not played that often for us. I mean, 3 seasons can't have been more than 25 games over those 3 seasons. It's not a lot. He needs to progress himself, but I do think that will be away from Spurs long term.
Nicholas Svensson, I hope I've said that right, Nicholas, says, greetings from Sweden, guys. Loving the pods, but really enjoying these live streams. Will they continue long term? Well, look, ultimately, Nicholas, vote with your feet. If you enjoy them, we'll continue to try and do them. We like doing them, so absolutely, that hopefully will be the case. Which of our footballers haven't we covered then? Which of our new signings have we not covered, HG? I think we've discussed Reguilon, Doherty. I know who I've forgotten. Have you got your rap to hand?
My rap? What are you talking about?
Hobier!
I don't have it to hand, no.
That's a real shame.
Well, look, Højbjerg. I mean, I suppose we've talked about the price tag, we've talked about the value we got, but we've not talked. It's one of those interesting things that, like, when he signed, I'm pretty certain you and I had a conversation, and you weren't too sure. And I know I actually had this conversation with my mum earlier. My mum's a big Spurs fan, and she's like, where did we get him from? I've never heard of him. And I was like, Mum, we saw him play because we went to the Southampton Cup game in February.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, did he play? She's got no idea, right? But she loves him. She thinks he's a great player. And I think that's the question. You look at Southampton as a team last season. He doesn't stand out, right? Because they played with a double pivot, so it was him and someone else doing that type of job. When he's the only one really doing it, like he was yesterday, you see that he stands out a little bit more. In those earlier games, I think the first few games for Spurs, people weren't too sure if he was a massive improvement, but we saw it. We really did see it yesterday. So he wanted to play for Spurs. That to me is the most important thing of it all. He's a great player. Could have gone to Everton. Could have earned, I'm sure, the similar money to whatever we're paying him.
Yeah.
Everton were willing to pay.
They wanted him as well, didn't they? Which is always a good sign because I think Ancelotti gets a lot of things right.
I mean, that's the funny thing. Like at the time, people were like, "Why are we trying to buy the same players as Everton?"
Yeah.
And here we are, 3 months later, with Everton top of the league, and deservedly so, right? So, like, I agree with you. Ancelotti is no mug. Like, if he wants a player, they're going to be decent. I mean, he's pretty certain he's sold Theo Walcott today, which proves my point even more.
I'm glad about that.
It looks like Walcott is going to Southampton, which is, a nice bookend. This is going to be Southampton's future. It's like all those players that they let go because they weren't good enough to keep them are going to come back and play their last 2 or 3 years for them. So Bale at 38 will go back to Southampton.
I'm not sure Bale will ever go back to Southampton, to be honest, but Bale will just retire to the golf course after us, I think.
Yeah, it's true. I'm sure they have decent golf courses down there, but it's... Yeah, I mean, and we haven't really discussed Bale.
Oh, well,
right? I mean,
we're coming to
Bale.
him.
Okay.
Let's talk about Bale. Højbjerg we didn't really finish on, but I think look, the reality is he I didn't really see that much of him, but then I didn't see what we saw in him, and then I saw him play against Man United and he bossed the midfield. He was great against Man United, and they're all pretty good against Man United, so I'm hoping it's not a flash in the pan, but I do trust him that he is going to put in performance after performance after performance. I think when you watch his body language on the pitch as well, he's quite an angry man, isn't he? Sort of stomps around, motivates, knows how to put the foot in. He's an intelligent C. There's no doubt for me. That's part. It could be part of your rap. I think that's clearly why we've signed him. And that's what I've got to say about that.
I've seen this clip a number of places today. In the first half, there was a challenge. I think Rashford looked like he was going to get up to the ball, and Aurier made a kind of last-ditch tackle on the halfway line, wins the ball cleanly, gets up, and the only person near him is Højbjerg.
Yeah.
And Højbjerg just allows him to play the ball back to Sanchez, and then as he does it, just kind of gives him that yes. Like
I saw it. I saw it. He went. Ugh.
Yeah, and that's it. Like I mean, I read. I guess it would have been Alistair Gold talking about how he's always shouting bravo when a teammate does well, and he's extremely vocal. And you only have to look at the interview he gave when he signed for Spurs to know that, like,
he gives a
he's
shit.
not just here. He's not here to play football. He's here to win. He's here to, like, we may well be the best team he plays for the rest of his career. Now, this might be the pinnacle. I know he played for Bayern when he was a youngster. But, if Spurs go where we want them to go, to the level that Mourinho has been with all of his other clubs, right?
Even Porto.
Yeah, exactly. Even Man United. But, if we can get to that stage, that's exactly the type of player that we need. Like, I talked about it on a pod. I'm sure it was a pod a few weeks ago. Højbjerg speaks German and English and French through his mother.
Yeah.
And, like, lots of languages. And Dyer speaks Portuguese and Spanish and English, and those two, right? Those two are basically the center of the group. They are the core people.
Yeah.
They are the people that Mourinho trusts more than anyone. Like the idea that Højbjerg and Ndombele could actually just have a decent conversation because they understand each other already naturally. They don't have to worry. We talked last season about, Ndombele looked better when Sissoko was on the pitch. And I'm almost positive there was a language thing to that. Right? When you can communicate with people easily, it's a stress that you don't have to worry about. As a language teacher, I know how important it is that people feel comfortable to say what they can say, what they need to say, what they feel. And so with Højbjerg and Dyer as really being the two main lieutenants for Mourinho on the pitch, we're going to have a nice group. I mean, we saw it even when they went on holiday in the summer. It was Dyer and Lo Celso together, and Lamela was with them. Like, I don't get the feeling that in the previous years that Lamela really was part of the gang.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel that way now. I feel as if he is part of the gang, and Mourinho wants to foster that kind of relationship amongst the players. Like, we've seen it at Chelsea where they loved Mourinho.
Yeah.
But I don't know who I was talking to. It might have been you earlier. The idea that, like, when Chelsea players or Man United players, when they talk about the ex-players and they talk about what they were like when they played at the top of the game, that brotherhood, that camaraderie that they felt, they still have it. They still know what they did to make them where they were, and that, I think, I hope, is where we're going to go.
So Højbjerg, a good signing then, yeah?
Yes, absolutely. Well, 5-year deal. He'll be captain soon enough.
Yeah.
If he's not club captain, which is more of an honorary title than anything else, like Hugo obviously is the man. We've seen that now. But Højbjerg is a leader. He's a leader of men. He wants that role. Like, he's not just cut out for it because of it. He wants to take that responsibility on. We've seen it so often throughout our 40-odd years that Spurs have never had that. They've never had players that were willing to stand up and say, no, not with my team. You do not do that to me and my friends. we've always been a collection of individuals, and,
Yeah.
and Pochettino changed that to one level, and I think Mourinho is going to take it even further.
I think so too, and I hope. I'll tell you what, I bloody hope so, because I just think that's exactly what we need. We need that. We need that togetherness, and that's where winning comes from. To me, that's where winning comes from, and I think we will do great things under him. But I've always said that. In fairness,
You have.
Because I think
It's interesting that when Pochettino was sacked and we had that emergency pod, and at that point in time, the only manager available that you could even think as being better than Pochettino was Mourinho. Ancelotti was still at Napoli. I think if you'd given me the option between Ancelotti and Mourinho, I may have gone Ancelotti. But at that moment in time, Mourinho was the best available option by a country mile.
Yeah.
And obviously we've had bad performances. We've seen the edges being kind of taken off the team as they've tried to learn what he wants. Maybe we've turned a corner. Even Father Nick has started to praise the things that Mourinho has done, and Father
Nick even said, "I will pray for him."
Well, yeah, but usually you only pray for people who need it, right? I don't think Mourinho needs our prayers. But he's changing people's minds because we are seeing a difference. Again, the quality of football is not the free-flowing thing that we saw under Pochettino.
No.
But we yesterday, what was it? Yesterday we had a lot of shots, but of the 8 on target, 6 went in. That's the type of efficiency you want to see. If you're going to hit the target, you want it to find the bottom corner, and we did that with regularity yesterday. We did it against Southampton. We created enough chances against Newcastle to do it. Sadly, we didn't. But at the end of the day, we are giving ourselves a very good chance to win those games, and that is down to Mourinho's attitude more than anything.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree, and I think he'll just be superb for us at some point. I'm going to try and add Steve Diver into the call in a minute because he's been waiting very patiently. And I want to ask him. I'm having some Skype issues, which hopefully will be sorted when we get rid of this stupid Skype system. But I want to ask him about the finances and how it's what wiggle room I suppose he thinks there is in the budget now. Because we've spent. I know people will say, "Oh, the net spend's only 50 million or whatever," but we're talking about a lot of wages, I would say. So the wage bill's got to have gone up easily.
Yeah, I mean, who have we seen go? Walker Peters would have been on very little.
Peanuts.
Foyt would have been little. Vertonghen was probably the highest wage.
50k a weeker, probably 50-60 grand a weeker.
Well, Vertonghen now he was on more than that. You'd have thought, surely.
It'd be on at least that.
But yeah, so but you're talking about Højbjerg is probably looking at certainly higher 5 figures, if not more. Bale. But his Bale's share, right? I mean, our share of Bale's wages is over 200,000 a week. We've spent on wages, but if you think about that 200,000 a week is 10 million for the year. Let's say you can make it simple numbers. 10 million for a year. That might be a loan fee. How much have Hoffenheim paid to take Sessegnon away? Who knows, right? True. If loaning out Sessegnon and Foyt covers Bale's wages, you do it every day of the week, right? I mean, it's a no-brainer. So I do think that financially, we don't know when it comes to Dombele's fee. Was it all up front? Chances are it wasn't. So we're on the hook for some of that this year. But Levy likes to spread things out precisely, to spread the risk out, not knowing a pandemic is coming. So. I don't know. I like to think that even with a £1 billion stadium that we might struggle to pay off because we're not getting the events in, I still think with the TV rights we can pay all of our bills. Our wage to revenue ratio was so low initially that even if we've spent another 500 grand a week on our signings, that is peanuts.
You sound like Franco.
I sound like Franco.
Yeah, he's always saying that. He's always saying, "Hello, cheeseheads." How do you all find Harry Winks? I find him expendable. Me too. I'll just keep it in because he's from England. HG, if you could draw your answer out, because I need to just pop to the little boys' room at this point.
Yeah, stop talking.
I've been drinking gin for ages. I'm going. I'll see you in a minute. Nice picture, elephant.
Harry Winks. Yeah, he's being kept around because he's homegrown, because he's club grown, because he knows the club. And is he a good squad player? Yes. Again, like I don't see him as being part of the first team. But if you want him to play 20, 25 games a season, that's all right. I mean, even if it is your Carling Cup ties against your lower league oppositions, or your early round FA Cup ties against anyone, that's okay, right? I don't think we need to stress about whether he's going to play against Liverpool away. He's going to be even in those games, he's most likely to be going to be in a 3, and in those 3, yeah, why not have Winks? So I'm not one of those Winks haters who thinks he can't pass the ball forward. I am aware of his limitations, but I think that Winks has a role to play, and you can't just get rid of players like that. They do know the club. If he's happy to stay, why exactly would we sell him? He plays for England. That's not necessarily a statement of quality, but we could do a whole lot worse than Harry Winks. And for someone to love the club as much as he does, we all want to see Spurs fans play for the Spurs team. There's a certain romance to that. And so I don't know. I'm certainly not anti Harry Winks.
Expendable.
Yeah, expendable. Yes and no. Right? I wouldn't cry if he left, but I don't see any reason for him to go. Right? Because he is extremely useful, and you need players like that. It's like talking about Ben Davies. Harry Winks is a Ben Davies. He'll give you 6 or 7 out of 10. He won't be the best player on the pitch ever, right? But he's more likely to be that solid team player that you need in the 11 that you have.
Unfortunately, I don't think I can get Diver in unless I ended the stream and started a new one, which I'm not prepared to do. Sorry, Steve. The caller gets caught short. Hope he washed his hands. Alcoholic gel, actually, Dave. Sorry about that. But there you go. I am sanitised. It's probably more you can say than half the Spurs team. By the way, Harry Winks, expendable. I don't like him. I never had. And he's a squad player. That's what I've always said, isn't it, HG? I've always said you can keep him in the squad. I understand the reason for having an English midfielder who's neat, tidy, and all the rest of it. But there's absolutely no need to play him every week, like Pochettino was obsessed with. I don't think he's good enough. I think he's all right as a squad player. Long story short, Greg Anderson. Has there been anyone we've realistically been linked with in this window that either of you are gutted we didn't sign? That's a very good question. H?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I'm struggling to. We've signed so many that it's almost weird to think who haven't we signed. I guess the Skriniar one is the one that lots of Spurs fans are upset about because I think we all thought it was going to happen. But as you know yourself, caller, I've never been a massive fan of Skriniar.
No, you don't like him.
No, it's not like I don't like him.
It's not what we need, you think?
Yeah, I don't. Exactly. If you were going to tell me we can sell Davinson Sanchez, buy Skriniar, and then buy a left-footed centre-back, I'd have been all over it, right? But if you want Skriniar to come in and be that left-sided player, he might well be an improvement on Sanchez, but again, you're going to have Sanchez and Skriniar and Alderweireld fighting for one spot. I don't see the value in that. So I'm not too disappointed that one hasn't happened. I'm obviously always disappointed that Messi hasn't come, but that was never really on the cards, despite him getting annoyed with Barcelona. I don't know. I mean, there were a few players that I would have liked to see sign for Spurs, but we were never linked to them. So it's in that sense I can think of a few, but who were we linked to that we didn't really sign? I think that once the smoke came out about us really wanting players, whether it was Vinicius or Højbjerg or whatever, they've all finally come, and so we can't. I don't know who Greg is thinking of.
Yeah, same really. I don't think I've seen anyone that we've been linked with that we didn't sign realistically. Skriniar is like you say, HG. It's the only real one that kind of we didn't take on. But that's probably because he had about a 45 to 50 million euro fee. I think they wanted. That's what Inter Milan were demanding for him, and we offered a packet of peanuts and a Mars bar. So I think it's a classic case of we don't want to pay we don't think he's worth that. I think it's fair to say, because we have shown we'll pay when we want to. Look at Ndombele last season. Paid the full asking price for him because we thought he was worth it. So Dave Bolton.
Go on, sorry.
Dave Bolton, thank you very much for all your comments. I'm now muting you. Steve Diver says via the comment reaction box, I can't dial in, but I will still have my say. In terms of budget, we're obviously suffering from having no match income right now, as we're banking on that to bridge the gap to Liverpool. However, the club are financially very secure. The stadium debt is repayable over something like 25 years, so not an immediate concern. Our player salaries were around £75 million pre-signings, so maybe 90 to 100 million now. That's reasonable given our revenue number. And to Lloyd's point, we have about 35 million left to pay on our prior transfers. So there you go.
Levy is so financially savvy. I mean, you can hate Levy for various things, but you can't hate him financially. Right? We can't worry about the future of the club financially because he'll have thought of every single angle possible. He thinks of angles that when you read about them, you're like, oh yeah, obviously that's really smart to do it, but you wouldn't naturally think of it yourself. So look, I understand that we'd all like to go out and spend lots of money on players, but let's be fair. If you can get a player of the quality of Højbjerg for £15 million, which had nothing to do with that was his value.
Yeah.
If you can find those players each year and convince them to want to join your club, you're going to be laughing. And that I think has been the issue in previous seasons, that we've had to almost overspend to try and get these people in, as opposed to being a destination that players want to come to. Mourinho has changed that a little bit, where players have seen that our squad is maybe a bit weak, they have a chance to really come in and make a difference, and they're going to be playing for one of the best managers that world football has ever known. Yeah. Dinosaur or not, you can't take that away from Mourinho. So it's financially we really can't worry too much about Spurs. Yes, we're hurting because we're not buying our buttermilk chicken or whatever in the stadium. But
hey, listen, you'd like the buttermilk chicken?
Yeah, would I? To be honest, I was tempted when I went in February. I stuck to the Coke and pie, whatever it was.
The beer and a pie, or Coke and a pie, a drink and a pie.
A drink and a pie for
a fiver.
I was happy with that. I don't need fancy food at the football. I don't want to have a pizza. I don't really want to have buttermilk chicken. As good as it almost certainly is, I'm very much along the lines of Franco's diabetes double of a Snickers and a Ribena.
You could be northern.
I could be northern.
Yeah.
That's the nicest thing you've ever said.
Well,
I like the north. My mum lives in West Yorkshire. It's a beautiful place. But I'm always going to be an Essex boy. I mean, that is me.
I'm a very nice person. There's a question here all the way from India. Spurs have around 8 midfielders. Tongi, Sissoko, Højbjerg, Winks, Lo Celso, Ali, Lamela and Gedson. I forgot about him. Long term, who do you think will stay? Do you see any of them leaving this window or January? HG, you're not allowed to say Lamela because you know as well as I do the boss loves him.
Yeah, it's true that the managers have seemed to like him. I mean, it's one of those things. I've always said that if you think you're not going to have possession of the ball, then you need someone like Lamela to play those games. Under Pochettino, in many cases, we did have possession of the ball almost all the entire game. So, of those, Sissoko might be one for the chop because he's 31. Not getting any younger, may well want to try and find maybe one last payday somewhere else. Maybe go to Italy where they're quite happy to sign older players on big money. Of the others, I think it will depend on how much they play. right? Like for Lo Celso and Ndombele and Højbjerg, like they're going to be playing 30, 40 games a season. There's no reason for them to want to go unless, you know, a real giant team comes in for them. But, you know, I like Gedson, I think, won't stay once his loan is finished, but his loan finishes and we've got no reason to get rid of him before his loan finishes.
No.
So I don't think, like, it's all going to be on how often they play rather than anything else.
Mm. And he was brought in at a time where we were a little bit desperate for numbers, to be honest with you. So he served a purpose.
I've got nothing against Gedson. I just think that, I mean, this is it. If Sissoko goes, then maybe there's a spot for Gedson, right? Like, but I don't think, as similar as they can be, and as good as I think Gedson, you know, might be on his day, I suspect that, let's say that if they both left, we would find another player to play that role.
I mean, when I look at that list of midfielders, who do I see going? None of them immediately. Sissoko, maybe, end of the season. Dele, maybe, if he really has fallen out with Jose, but I see him staying because of his marketable value for Levy, and that's what he's got 4 years on his contract, so I can't see it.
Yeah, people talk about, you know, like players wanting game time because the Euros are next summer. Well, next summer players were going to be wanting game time because of the World Cup the following year. So there is a chance that some of those players will want to go. But like, if we have a really good season this season, which I think a lot of us are secretly thinking we might now, right? And like, you know, we don't
believe. You're believing now, aren't you?
We don't want to say it out loud. Like, I've banned the T word from any conversation. I do not want us to be thinking about anything beginning with T until January or February at the earliest. But it's a case of, well, yeah, like we'll see where we are in January, and like if we end up doing the same thing with loans to come in and play those positions, like I don't think we're going to be buying Vinicius for the 38 million or whatever it is he would cost if we make the loan permanent. I don't think that's going to happen. I suspect if he does well, we'll try and loan him again.
Well, I've got a couple of bits of breaking news for you. So to answer that question fully, I don't see any of them leaving right now. Maybe at the end of the season, definitely Gedson, maybe Ali, maybe Sissoko. A couple of bits of breaking news. Some on Sky Sports are saying we are close to agreeing a £18 million deal for a Wales international defender, a Welsh international defender, which can only be Rondon. Rodden, sorry, not Rondon. Christ, we don't want him. Rodden.
Well, Rondon was a decent striker in his time. Yeah, like if that happens, he's 6'4", this Joe Rodon. Like I think that Swansea.
Joe Rodon. I can even manage to incorrectly pronounce English people's names. Or Welsh? What chance have I got?
What do I say that's not insulting?
Don't answer that. Don't answer.
Yeah. Like again, it's one of those things that
Harry Redknapp's selected deadline day signings has just come up. Classics like Louis Sahar, Andres D'Alessandro. You know, names that roll off the tongue. I'm sorry, what are you saying?
About Rodon, look, he's highly rated. I mean, we're not the only team that have been linked with him. How do I put this? Other teams have been linked with him previously, not us. But I think there was it Alfie Mawson was there and was like the next centre back that they thought was good, and he went to Fulham, and then Fulham got relegated, and he can't get a game since. And Rodon came in, and the people were like, "Wow, this guy's better than Mawson was." He's a giant of a defender. Like he's almost like Ben White in the fact that no one really knows anything about them, but they've heard the name. Ben White obviously got promoted with Leeds last season, so you saw him a lot more on Sky. But Rodon, I mean, Swansea were a good team. They got to the playoff semi-final, I think. The question for me is, as much as he might be really one for the future, isn't that what Tanganga is? Like, it almost feels like we're buying now for a decent price because we think that
it's going to be something.
That he'll do something maybe longer term. It feels like another Foyt signing.
Do you know, HG? I've got some other breaking news for you. You may already know this, but Wheelchair Jack's been released by West Ham, so he is available on the transfer market.
Do you know? I think I read a tweet from someone earlier that the most West Ham thing is that they've released
paid him off.
they've released Cocaine Jack, and the only club that you can imagine signing him on a free transfer is West Ham. There's this like vicious circle of, like he's
Of
not
West
good enough.
Hamness.
Yeah, honestly, I want to feel sorry for him, but I can't. He's made a lot of money for doing very little. I realise that he wants to play the game, and that is harsh. That the injuries have taken their toll on him.
No, it's
but
not.
to be,
Injuries
West Ham
couldn't pick a better target. That's what I'm saying about that. I've got a funny story for you here from Mr. Diver. When Lucas's wife was pregnant, she became addicted to the buttermilk chicken strips at Spurs. She'd eat 2 to 3 orders every game. What a fatty. Unbelievable.
She's eating for 2. How could you say that?
For 3, by the look of it. Nick Dornan says, looks like Danny Rose. I like your pitch, by the way. The Fonz, spot on. Looks like Danny Rose, God, is staying for now. Oh, brilliant. Will he be tempted to go down to the Championship in remaining in the Football League window? Well, I'll tell you what I hope happens with Danny Rose. We're going to rattle through these, HG. I hope that he finds his level, yeah, which is a club that he has to Google. HG?
I think you're being quite mean. Like if I was Danny Rose, the 60 grand a week or whatever he's on at Spurs, that's coming in regardless, right? He's going to be earning that. So, is he willing to drop down to the Championship and play for a team? Yeah, I think he probably is. If I'm honest, I think he likes playing football and he wants to do it.
Send him to Doncaster.
What level are they at now?
I don't know. League
that's
Two.
his hometown. But I mean, if you look at those, there are a few Championship teams that are big clubs, right? That really, at least historically, have been
Forest,
Premier League clubs.
Derby.
Forest is the one that really sticks out to me, and they've just sacked their manager and spent a lot of money on players before they've done that. But there are going to be teams up there like Sheffield Wednesday, but like even Sheffield United, like they're a Premier League side. But can you name their left back?
No.
No, I mean I can, but then obviously I know these things. But the thing is, like, Enda Stevens is their left wing back, right? And Enda Stevens, as far as I'm aware, used to play for Aston Villa and never really got a game there. Like they're in danger as far as I'm concerned. Sheffield United could easily go down this season, and so for them to get someone like Danny Rose, I think would make a lot of sense, right? He would be not necessarily an improvement on what they have first team wise, but certainly someone with that level of experience to come in and help them out if when needed would be valuable, because they spent a lot of money on the Liverpool kid, and I think that's a mistake. Like it's interesting. I think Sheffield United are in real danger, and so someone like that for Danny Rose would work. To be fair, I thought the same about Leeds. Not that they'd be in danger of going down, but again, like left back has been a problem position for them. So Danny Rose as your backup makes sense to me.
Okay. Okay. Well, look,
yeah,
I don't want to talk too much about him. It's his level. I'm leaving it at that. Paulo Caesar says, according to Harry Redknapp, this Roden guy has been recommended to us by Bale and Davis. I know nothing about him, but if Bale recommends him, I'm in.
I mean, like
maybe he's good at golf.
What I've seen of Roden is that he's I feel like the new John Stones, right? In the fact that he's tall, he's strong.
Looks like he should be on Peaky Blinders.
Yeah, he does a bit, doesn't he? Like the curly hair, kind of. I don't know, but yeah, well, like we could do worse, absolutely. But like, he's probably going to get in the way of Tanganga's progress. We don't know if he's really Premier League standard. It seems like a punt for the future because we can. We're trying to take advantage of the situation more than he's going to be a great player for us this season. Like, we could easily sign him today and then loan him somewhere, right? I mean,
well, we don't need to sign him today, HG, because the domestic window remains open till October the 16th.
Yeah, there you go.
So there's no rush.
I know people talked about getting him registered for European football has to happen today, but European football and him, it would be same as Ben Davis. Like, he'd be homegrown for the Premier League, but for Europe he'd count as a foreigner. So I don't really see a reason to sign him today. But it is one of those where I think that signing him now it's like a Jack Clark deal, right? You sign him now because you want him under your, on your books.
Yeah.
But actually, the best thing for him is to play regular football somewhere else. And so that could easily be at Swansea until January, and then we revisit the situation.
Breaking news.
Go on.
Cavani's a done deal now. He's officially a Red. Man United have managed to address another position they don't have a problem with. So well done, Man United.
Steve Itchin as a brother, and I think he works at Man United.
I hate January and I hate September and I hate October.
Yeah, it's a great deal for Edinson Cavani, but that's about it.
Jason Lars says, found it interesting we were after Rudiger. Always thought he was Chelsea's best centre-back. I wonder if Russia stepped in again and vetoed the deal. Is HG a fan of Rudiger? And then to which Mr. Parker stepped in and said, Jason, did you not listen to last night's pod? To which he replied, no, HG is not a fan.
No, not particularly.
Why are you not a fan? Because he's very well. He's very well thought of.
I think Rudiger is the German Sanchez, if I'm honest.
Right, let you rant about him. I'm going to get a gin.
I didn't really rate him when he played at Stuttgart. He got his move, I think, to Italy and Roma, then on to Chelsea. He's, they are steps up, but still, I don't know. Like Chelsea have this weird system where every centre half plays well for a few games and then doesn't play very often. They loaned Zuma out to Stoke and Everton, and then now he comes back and he looks like being their best defender. It's a weird situation, but personally, no, I've never really thought too much of Rudiger, and that was long before the nonsense that happened last December at the new stadium. But yeah, I mean, I guess Rudiger's staying at Chelsea. He's not gone anywhere else. But no, I didn't want him at Spurs. Like, to me, like we needed a left footer. Rudiger's not that. So that was my goal. I wanted a left-footed centre back. I wanted someone like Pau Torres, who's at Villarreal. That was who I wanted. We needed a Vertonghen replacement, not any centre back.
Isn't the problem that as well, like Rudiger kind of alienated himself last season to a lot of the Spurs faithful, didn't he? With his, there was a certain furore about the racism angle. I don't think it had been I don't think it would have gone down well with the supporters. It's suffice to say. I actually think he's a decent centre back. He played for Germany. I mean, that's worth a few pennies, isn't it?
Yeah, but so does that new Leeds guy, the new Leeds centre back. Who if you're going to say playing for a national team makes someone good, even if it is Germany, who are great.
Germany,
right?
Germany, not any national team. Germany.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like Boateng and Hummels are better, and Hummels is old. Niklas Süle, the massive bloke at Bayern, is probably a better centre half. I've just never been a fan of Rudiger. Like, I don't think he's a bad player, but I've never wanted him to play for Spurs.
Well, Ali Gold is saying that Rodon's not up in. Sky Sports are saying they're in talks to sign him. Sky, I think, are just hamming it up because there's 54 minutes left in the window. Now, as much as I would love to stay up all night and pull an all-nighter with your HG till we see the window in, I've got to get up for work in the morning, sadly.
Me too, mate.
Real job. So I think we'll park it there. It's been an hour and 42 minutes of chat. Did we touch on every Spurs signing? I think we pretty much did, didn't we?
Yeah, I mean, apart from the young Estonian lad who's come in for the under-18s or
Don't
whatever,
count.
we haven't talked about him.
Don't count.
Yeah, he scored on his debut, so and I think he's a left-footed centre back. But
I tell you, who's not got out the door, Jack Clark yet.
No, but again, I think that Carter Vickers is the same boat. Like those players will probably go Championship.
Domestic,
so got another 10 days to sort something out.
Yeah. Steve Hitchens there going, I got plenty of time. Don't rush me. Don't rush me.
Yeah, he's still having a jolly in Italy, most likely, talking to some agent that hadn't. It's weird. I mean, like, I think clubs know. If Spurs knew they were never willing to pay the asking price, then why do we spend so much time hoping that Inter were going to lower it? We've seen this with Borussia Dortmund. They didn't price for Sancho. We've seen today that Arsenal has been forced to pay the price because
Depends how much they need the money, doesn't it? I suppose at the end of the day.
So, but I just I'm firmly in the belief that if it's 5 million that you're missing out, I almost call it the engagement ring formula. I bought my the shop with a certain price in mind.
I love this. Right? Okay, go on.
Yeah,
Let's tell the story.
I went into the shop with a certain price in mind. I didn't want to go over a certain amount.
I hope she's not watching.
Oh, she knows this story. We talk about it all the time. But I went in. I didn't want to pay more than a certain amount because just finances, whatever. And then I saw this ring, and it was more than I wanted to spend. And I thought, you know what? I'm only doing this once. Let's do it, right? And that's the way that I think it's okay. We're not talking about double the price I had in mind. We're talking about maybe an extra 10, 15%. And I thought, actually, for a one-off thing, hopefully, this well worth the deal.
Well, that's how I felt when I bought my beer pump. And my car.
Yeah, which car? How many have you got now?
I've got 3. And my pool table. Those are the kind of things I think. So I understand I get the cut of your jib, HG.
It's you're investing, right? I mean, that's just it.
Always look at your return.
You are investing, so yeah.
Well, I think that's all I've got time for. And thank you very much for joining me this evening, HG. Hope you've enjoyed it.
Certainly have. I love to talk Spurs, and it's good to see your Ronnie Barker face once in a while.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah, I love it. People are saying we could be brothers. I'm a bit worried about that. It's going to be like that film Twins.
You've never had compliments before?
Not very often, and normally only when the missus wants something. Yeah, to be honest. So look, if you haven't already, please subscribe, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and Instagram. And in the meantime, I'm sure we'll be doing another live very soon because there's a big gap now, isn't there, to our next game? We've got
it's a couple of weeks. There's England things going on.
I mean, we've been getting them 3 days a week. 3 days a week. 3 days a week. I'm sorry there wasn't a live at the weekend to watch the game. I had family over, and I'm sorry that we didn't cover all of the Europa League either on the video on the YouTube channel. But rest assured, we will be doing lots more lives as the season goes on. I would love to get back together with yourself, HG, before we kick off again. Talk a bit more Spurs. Let's see where the domestic transfer window takes Steve Hitchin. Not till I've finished my chips and gravy. And in the meantime, come on, you Spurs!
Come on, you Spurs!
Thanks very much, guys.